All right, Panther people, what up? I had to go live. Of course, this stuff happens as I'm trying to get ready to go to work. Yeah. So we got multiple reports right now. It doesn't matter. That meeting with Mike Vrabel must have gone so quick. But of course, this stuff happens as I'm on my way to work. After I just finished the workout, I was just talking to my buddy who's a huge Tennessee Titans fan, Derrick Henry guy. And I just asked him, tell me a little bit more about Mike Vrabel. Why are we so upset that he left? And then he texted me right away this morning, literally 4 minutes ago, saying, looks like Dave Canales is the guy. I was like, what? No, he was the guy yesterday morning. He stopped being the guy around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon when Mike Vrabel was going to be taking meetings with Panthers. Josh, keep pounding what up? One of my day oneers here live on the stream right now. So according to Ian Rappaport, he was on it first. He said it on NFL Network, and I think we know what Ian Rappaport's life is going to be like after he's done with media. It looks like he's going to be tied in with the Panthers because he is so in deep with David Tepper. He knows exactly what the guy's thinking. He probably knows what he had for breakfast. He is reporting along with Adam Schefter, along with I think Joe Person, double down on this as well, triple down on this as well. Basically, everybody who works for the league right now is saying that while there still needs to be some stuff needs to be get done, some paperwork needs to be signed, but it looks like Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who seemed to make Baker Mayfield look like the first overall pick all over again, made us believe in Geno Smith last year with Seattle Seahawks, is going to be the next head coach of your Carolina Panthers. He is 37 years old, I believe. He has been behind the scenes, not a head coach for over a decade now, 13 years. The guy has been pounding it out. He was with Seattle for the longest period of time. I believe it was 13 years. Josh Norris, I'm sure you can find him. He's probably one of the more famous Carolina Panther apologists, sympathizers, if you will. Alex Stark, what's going on? Alex Stark. Oh, no. Let's see what Voodoo Child has to say. I like this move. The familiarity of Dan Morgan makes me hopeful. Keep pounding. We'll talk about that in a second. So for the 54 people who just joined on here, Dave Canales is the Carolina Panthers' new head coach. This happened rapid fire. I'm literally sitting on the floor. I didn't have time to set up my set, which is in my mudroom. I didn't set up my cushion and my jerseys and all that stuff. I'm sure I could put it on. I may as well just put the Bryce Young jersey on because this whole decision was based on where's the door. I don't know anything that's happening right now. Here's Bryce Young. All right, I'm going to wear the jersey just like this. So he's the guy. He spent most of his time in Seattle with our new general manager, head of football operations, president of football operations, Dan Morgan in Seattle. So if you want to talk about alignment, there's that. And so he spent most of his time as an assistant. He finally got his time as an offensive coordinator, calling plays with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led them to the playoffs, that second half surge that got them to where they are. And so, fought pretty hard against the Detroit Lions. Like, they gave them a run for their money. Like, I was watching that game and I was like, whoa, this team is not down and out right now. They're showing no quit. Whether that's the play calling, the players, obviously, it's about the Jerrys and Does and not the X's and O's. Either way. Also, shout out to the defenses because I think Ben Johnson basically got shut out in the second half. I think they scored just 3 points in that second half. So shout out to Todd Bowles and company with the Tampa Bay Bucks. But he's getting his chance now. Nearly 15 years as an assistant, wondering when is he going to get his chance. Dave Canales, who was, I think, to many people, their tier 3 head coaching candidate, is now going to be the Carolina Panthers head coach. And let's just try to break this down a little bit. Okay, let's see what the comments are saying. What up to everybody who's here? Joey Mendoza says, I'm okay with this hire. He seems like a bright young coach who was able to rejuvenate both Geno and Baker's career. Now let's see what we can do for the Panthers. Hashtag keep pounding. Are we still without an OC? Yes, unless he's the guy calling plays, I guess. Josh says, I feel good about taking a guy like Canales early. So this is what I'm thinking. So I was saying this before Mike Vrabel, and we'll get to him, got into the fold here. It felt like Dave Canales is potentially, in terms of the hype meter, he is Ben Johnson before Ben Johnson was Ben Johnson. So not Ben Johnson last year. He's Ben Johnson the year before that, before he became a hot name. So let's say he stays, as the offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they give Baker this big contract. They retain Mike Evans, and they use their draft picks and all that stuff, and then they get even better. Suddenly, now this guy is, they win the NFC South like they did this year. And now he's a really hot name. And to get him now is going to be difficult because now who knows what happens with the Cowboys, what happens with know, the Arizona Cardinals. You never know. He could suddenly be a hot name, so you're getting him now. He's also like 35, 37 years old. I believe he's 37 years old. And with that, it then goes back to what David Tepper wanted. He said this hyperbolically, but he said that he wants this guy to be here for 20 years. He wants to read his eulogy at his funeral. Well, at 37 years old, there's a chance he could be for 20 years. He could be here until he's 57 years old, and David Tepper is long and gone, and he is reading something waxing poetically about David Tepper. It seems like the Panthers have hired almost every demographic now. They got a used car salesman with very successful head coaching candidacy in college, and Matt Rule gave him a crazy deal, probably what was it, a 7-year deal or 6-year deal, massive money. Let him go. That didn't work out. We didn't want the collegiate atmosphere. They gave it to the experienced head coach who's won a Super Bowl in Frank Reich, and he was a bit of a dud. Well, Matt Rule was a hype man, and we had Frank Reich, dud. I guess they also had Steve Wilkes. You want to say that he was the best of everything, and they did not give him a shot for whatever reason. Then they went with the old tired coach in Frank Reich. So now they got to go for the young up and coming coach who's also fiery and not a dud. Don't know what Ben Johnson is like. Seems like a little bit of a dud, just a bit, but he's a creative mind. Who also got shut out in the second half against Tampa Bay. So Dave Canales, you look at him, and as I talked with Edgar Samingo Jr. on the previous episode, I wanted a guy who was fit. I wanted a fit guy. I'm sure Frank Reich was definitely fit in his day. Matt Rule, I'm sure he was a walk-on at Penn State better than I ever did. But in the moment, I wanted a fit guy. I wanted a guy who could maybe go toe-to-toe with D'Amico Ryans. To try to put the fisticuffs on it and try to maneuver around Dan Campbell. I wanted someone like that because in my head, I think if you're disciplined enough to wake up at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, workout, do whatever, cold plunge, carnivore diet, herbivore diet, I don't care. Do all that. You're going to be bringing that to the locker room as well. You're not going to be a slob. You're going to be focused on stuff. You're not going to be falling asleep at noon. You're going to be fired up, working until 3 a.m. You can get it done. You can bounce back and coach on Sunday. So I like that about him. He's fiery. I watched most of that 45-minute documentary from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers about chronicling his rise to where he's at. I couldn't watch too much because it was way too much Buck stuff. I stopped watching that. I couldn't do it. But he does seem like a leader of men, and I think that's what people wanted. I think he's a guy who'd get fired up. I think he's a guy who could potentially relate to the players because he's younger but not too young. He's not like 28, 30. He's 37, pushing 40, like myself. And so, I've learned that I'm an old guy now. I'm an old guy to these young Thundercats. And so he fulfills that. And he's an offensive mind. And if he can do things with Geno Smith, who got him a contract, probably getting Baker Mayfield a contract, then maybe he can do something with Bryce Young. And they can grow up together. And this goes back to, while I like Mike Vrabel, we can talk about him right now. So he flew into Charlotte last night, met with the Panthers today. That must have been a real quick meeting like that. And I don't know whether Dan Morgan and him or Dan Morgan knew inside that maybe he needs a year off. He needs to sleep on it, literally, like just sleep a year and just relax. Maybe they sensed that. Maybe Vrabel wanted too much power. He basically wanted Dan Morgan's job, and that's a no bueno there. So they probably wanted an offensive guy because, again, if you bring in a defensive guy, which Mike Vrabel is, which Mike McDonald is, which Raheem Morris is, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're getting picked off. Your offensive coordinator is picked off every time. Look at the Buffalo Bills. Brian Daboll got picked off. And then it was Ken Dorsey. He got fired because it didn't work out. And then they had Joe Brady. Now he's getting head coaching interviews with the Atlanta Falcons and company. Whether he's going to get it, we don't know. Probably not. And so in terms of consistency, because everything at the end of the day is about this guy. It's all about Bryce Young. And so they want someone who's going to be around. Forget 20 years for David Tepper. They want him around, 10 years for Bryce Young. Look what we're seeing in the playoffs right now. Jared Goff on his second team, thriving. Baker Mayfield on his fourth team was thriving. These are guys who just didn't work out because they got picked first overall in what was a crappy team. That's what happens when you're the first overall pick. You're going to the crappiest team in the league. And so now David Canales is going to the crappiest team in the league. And Bryce Young, we don't want him to now, use that as rookie contract, not work out, and then he ends up going to a team, a blue blood franchise like, the Steelers, like the Niners, like the Cowboys, and turning it around. And we're like, kind of like we're doing Christian McCaffrey right now, kind of like we're doing a DJ Moore right now. I'm not saying that. I guess the Bears are a blue blood franchise. They've been around for over 100 years, but we don't want to see that with Bryce Young. That's the worst because running backs are running backs. But you don't want to see your quarterback just thriving and winning trophies at another club because you couldn't get your crap together. So it looks like they're trying to do that by giving him some consistency with Dave Canales instead of a Mike Vrabel, who is also a leader of men. He could definitely beat up Canales. I think Canales is a young guy and he looks feisty. He looks fast. I think he could beat up Mike Vrabel, just with pure speed, Bruce Lee style. But they probably just wanted that consistency with Bryce Young, and they're both California guys. Shout out to Keep Pound and Ben, who literally got the ear of Dave Canales' brother. They talked about, he talked about God, and we never know what's going to happen next, and that's worked out there. Shout out to him. That's a big bump for him because he shared the Dave Canales presser that got shared by Peter Schrager, who then got picked up by everybody else. So we got a little bit of a tease on like what it could be like. And then we got the Mike Vrabel interference, and now the Mike Vrabel thing is gone. I'd really love to know what that meeting was like. I wonder if he just looked tired and maybe a little bit drunk, hung over a little bit. Maybe he went to the epicenter in Uptown, and they thought, you're not built for this right now. I don't think you're here for us right now. And I think everything is about Bryce Young and Dave Canales, young guy. Let's see what the comments are saying. I'm thinking Dan Morgan had an impact in his hiring. Makes me hope Tepper is finally starting to take his staff's considerations. Well, he did get what he kind of wanted. He got the young coach. He got the young offensive coach. And I wonder what his contract is because the Panthers were the only ones wanting him. So I wonder if they give him like a 6-year deal, maybe $8 million a year, $7 million a year. They're not giving him, Jim Harbaugh money. They're not giving him Matt Rule money because he's not really proven the NFL or in college as a head coach. So I wonder if they got him on the cheap and they'll give him an extension later. I bet Nicole is big on him too. Good looking people. This coach will get fired first year. We'll find out. He's a leader of men. Just the way he talks. He's not a wallflower like Frank Wright, but he also doesn't strike me as a used car salesman like Matt Rule. He seems like a little bit in the cut of the Jets head coach. In terms of like he's a jacked guy who can speak to people. He has a very sharp voice. He's coming to a guy with broadcasting experience. He strikes me as a mix between him in terms of personality and a little bit like Cliff Kingsbury because he's young and he's got a very long neck. This coach will be fired. But will Bryce be protected? Yes, he will, and he's going to be exciting. We hope. Everything is all hope. Now, the rough thing is that after Burns gets paid, we had no cap space. We'll see about that. Joel says, hopefully cut Moten and Bozeman to create some cap space. I don't know about that. Kristen says, I was neutral with Morgan being our GM, but yep, hiring Canales, great surprise. Yay, now step back Tepper. Exactly. Another Morgan says, we didn't have that man's options at broke team money. Carolina didn't have the pick of the litter. Deontay White, congrats to Canales. Josh says Bucs fans going crazy right now. Yeah, we did see some things where Bucs fans actually wanted them to fire Todd Bowles to give Canales the opportunity to be the head coach and stay with the team because we all love offense. We love offense, even though defense has been stepping up in these playoffs. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that. Obviously, you take a look at what Canales had to deal with in terms of what his offensive weapons were in places like a Seattle. He had, DK Metcalf. He had Taylor Lockett in Tampa Bay. He has Mike Evans. He has Chris Godwin. He's got some pretty good tight ends out there as well. Rashad White with their running back. And so there's going to have some stuff. I hope this is my worst fear. I hope that he didn't pitch something along the lines of, hey, I can make Adam Thielen. I can make TMJ. I can make Mingo. I could make Tommy Tremble elite. I can make them elite just with my play calls. I don't want that. I want him to say, hey, I want Mike Evans here. Okay, we'll get you Mike Evans. Okay, I want T. Higgins here. I want Hollywood Brown here. Like, okay, check. I want to double down on wide receiver in the draft. I want to get interior offensive lineman at 33rd. And then I want to trade up and get a wide receiver or get a big wide receiver free agency, trade down maybe in the second, maybe get an extra pick in the second or an extra pick in the third or something like that. And then get a wide receiver and an offensive lineman. Like I need these things. I hope they're not taking him for a ride because this is his first rodeo as a head coach and being like, all right, so we got this head coach on the cheap because he's young and no one else wanted him. He'll take whatever we give him. And, let's just see what he worked. Let's see how, maybe it was Frank Reich's fault. Maybe it was Thomas Brown's fault. Let's see what happens here. maybe he can make chicken salad out of chicken crab, what we got offensively in terms of skill position players, and then we'll figure that out there. I hope they don't do that. I hope they realize that they're gonna, they got this coaching hire. It's already a bit of a risk. He's an offensive guy. He's good looking. I'm sure he could talk well on the camera. He can sell people the way that we all got duped on the offseason. That he can do that as well, potentially. But at the end of the day, it's all about wins. And to get wins, you need talent, and we need talent. I think everybody and their mom and their grandma and their cat all know that the team needs to get elite talent. Obviously, you're in the NFL. You're talented. You need elite talent in the skill position players. And so whether that means that combination of free agent wide receiver coupled with a rookie wide receiver, maybe another, a B plus free agent pickup, and then and then some offensive line help as well, specifically in the interior. Joel says, at Ted, I don't love either hire. I have low expectations, high hopes, but low expectations. Yeah, don't we all? Spinks TV says, at least he's already somewhat familiar with our team and ensure you're already planning with Morgan on personnel. He is a young QB. Now we need our speedsters to implement motions. We fixed online for sure. Jamie Harris says, Ben Johnson and Slowick must have said thanks, but no thanks again. Everyone's on. Dude, Rule is totally a used car suit. Totally. Hired GM, nobody wanted them. Yeah, that's the big part that's kind of weird. So it does feel like the things that people were talking about, David Tepper's behavior, may have affected what's happening right now. I didn't think it's 100% true just because, these guys all accepted to hear from Tepper and everybody else. So at least they were somewhat intrigued. But the fact that I didn't see Dan Morgan interview anywhere else for a GM position, probably because David Tepper told him that this is yours anyways. Canales literally was not interviewed by anybody else but the Carolina Panthers. So what makes me wonder is the situation that bad in Carolina that nobody wants to work there? Or are the Panthers and Sportology geniuses? I'd like to see what Sportology had to say about all this. I hope they asked them about this. Did they think, hey, you know what, this is a buy low right now? This guy, like next year, 2 years from now, it's kind of like a house. You buy it now, or you're going to buy it 2 years from now, and the same house is going to be, $500,000 more. This guy's going to be a lot more, and you're also going to get a lot more competition for him. So maybe they're geniuses at Sportology, and we work things out. This guy Jordan says, have you all seen Kyle's post-game press conferences? Amazing energy, so positive, like Carol, right? He was a Carol guy, Carol disciple, Korean Tourette's. Did either have an interview anywhere else? Nope. Joel, one of my consolations that the other teams are going to have three stooges of head coach based on who Atlanta is interviewing. David Montoya says, my question is now, will Overo stay knowing he interviewed twice and didn't get the job? Being a DC will be a conflict of interest or jealousy of... I always wonder that. He looks like he might be the head coach with Atlanta. We could see that. Some interdivision swapping. Could end up in Seattle as well. But we'll see if he wants to stick around. Maybe Canales could pull somebody in who's already in Seattle right now because he spent 13 years there. Bring someone in from Seattle. Bring someone in from Tampa. Pretty good defenses historically. Now bring Mike Evans. We'll see about that. Canales will have Bryce looking nice, but my concern was run game. Yeah, we need to build up on that run game offense for sure. I love Chuba. There's got to be more. Is he going to be right for Bryce Young? Maybe, Andrew. Maybe. I think it depends on the system he has. Bryce had to have some input on this. This is his future. This is his life. Seems like we're starting with GM and coach, but what do you expect when you have a man baby at owner? All the owners are man babies. I'll say this. Jason Kelce is a player. He doesn't own the Buffalo Bills. He doesn't own the Kansas City Chiefs. He jumped out of the press box and drank beers with fans with his shirt off. What if someone was triggered by that? What if he scared people like that? What if David Tepper did that? David Tepper at least owns the Panthers. David Tepper could do that. If David Tepper jumped out of his press box and started drinking with fans, totally fine. Totally fine. With Bills Mafia, who are wild people. I love them. But because he jumps out and threw his drink at a Jaguars fan, supposedly because he was talking smack about a Panthers player, now he's a bad guy. I don't know. And if he was talking smack about Bryce Young or somebody on the team, particularly someone who got injured, and David Tepper threw the drink, you would applaud that. But we don't know. We'll never know. They should have hired Ben Johnson. I don't think Ben Johnson's going anywhere, Dustin. I think Ben Johnson's going to Washington, or that seems to be it right now. But he does seem also very focused on Detroit. He might go back to Detroit. They might give him like a $5 million pay raise and, hey, we made it to the NFC Championship game, or hey, we lost the Super Bowl. Come back. Let's make it happen, So he might go back. There's no guarantee. Well, good news here is we'll have the number one pick. Exactly. I mean, hell yeah, I can get a wide receiver. Do you think there was a discussion about Tepper letting Canales full control? No. I think Canales is not going to have full control. I think Canales is going to be a head coach. I think he's going to focus on getting the offense back on track. I think Dan Morgan is going to do Dan Morgan things. Edgar Salmingo Jr., damn it, he just messaged me now. He said that he can join on the stream, but I got to go to work. I'm going to do maybe something. Gosh, when can I do something? Maybe tonight. I'll be home at midnight. I don't think that's going to work. Tomorrow is Friday. Maybe I'll work something out with Edgar to break this thing down because he is a smart man. Darn it. I don't know. But there's 232 of you guys. There's an appetite. I love you all, but I do got to get to work. Appreciate you all. This is just my instant reaction. I think there's no expectations because he's not a name brand. All we know is what he did on the field in the second half of the season with Tampa Bay. We're hearing from players. Players never going to say bad things about a guy. But he's young, offensive-minded head coach, and supposedly, just from what I've seen shortly, a leader of men. Well, do they believe in him? It matters if you win. If you win, great. And it'd be funny. It'd be interesting to see what the staff is like. But we have alignment here. We have a Dan Morgan, Dave Canales alignment. They know each other. They come from Seattle. Pete Carroll trying this again, but instead of Scott Fitter, it's Dan Morgan and company. Still don't have the other half, the Chris Tillis guy or the Tillis dude out of Kansas City. We don't have him officially named yet. He's been rumored. Let's get explosive offense, baby. Just got to outscore the opponent. See you guys soon. I'll have another pre-tape video. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.